vicinity of the Valley of a Thousand Hills near Pietermaritzburg was the scene for the start of round 3 of this year's National Off-Road Championship, the Bell Sugarbelt 400. And as usual, the start was a beehive of activity. Competitors completed their final preparations. Leading the special vehicle category was Richard Carolyn in his single-seater raceco, 19 points ahead of father and son, Frank Chepek Sr. and Jr.
Well, I think we chose the right tyres. Just driving very consistently in bad conditions and a hell of a lot of luck.
Vickers van Deventer on his Jojo Tanks Yamaha went into the event with a 23-point lead over Julie Duplessis, while Christo van der Merwe led JB Burger and Chris van der Heefer in the 200 category.
Ag, ek weet nie, ek sal maar sien hoe lyk dit daar buite, hoe lyk die terrein. Ek is baie bang vir hierdie. Ek dink hierdie steker is fantasties, kan baie glad wees. Maar dis maar sien, ek wens een van die ouens kan voorry vir 'n slag dat ek bietjie hulle kan bietjie jaag.
Last year's winners, Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak, had a slender lead over defending champions Avi Weinecke and Robin Houghton, who in turn had a slender lead over the Birkin brothers from the Eastern Cape.
It's our home race. We know the area quite well, although we don't know the track itself. But it is a bit of an advantage knowing where you're going, and it's very important for us. The points position is very close. I think Arpie's about 7 points behind us, and the Land Rover can't be too far behind that either. So yeah, this is very important for us.
Clayton Ensland led Richard Manning by only 2 points in the 200 category, while Alec Vowles had Lance Trethewey breathing down his neck in the 250 class. Alfie Cox was the favourite in the open class on his 360 Pro Action Castrol KTM, but Grant Bloomfield was only 10 points adrift.
You know, our off-road races, we don't ride in the forest like we're going to do here now on the forest roads and sugarcane. I mean, this whole place is a sugarcane country, and, you know, sugarcane has got a different type of soil to it, and, you know, different terrain. It's not as fast, definitely not as fast as the races we have up in Botswana and, you know, the deserts up there. But down here, I think a little bit tighter and more technical, I think, which is, it makes for a little bit tighter racing, and definitely the terrain is different.
The race proper got underway on Saturday morning after a time trial the previous day to determine the starting order. Somewhat surprisingly, to the outsider, none of the competitors showed any signs of nervousness. A good crowd had gathered at the Beaumont Eston Farmers Club to witness Herman and Karl-Heinz Silvold lead the field away. They were followed by Derek Pinoy and Andre Opperman in their raceco. The Woolridge Vermaak combination in their time freight Nissan Sunny was the first production vehicle to start. The Sumwall brothers made the most of the advantage of being out front. They didn't have the problem of either running in someone else's dust or getting bogged down in mud churned out by those in front of them. A waterhole such as this can often cause problems if the driver takes it too fast, but Derek Pinoy is experienced enough to know exactly what to do. Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak were pushing their Nissan Sani hard in an effort to repeat last year's victory. Maybe a little too hard through the hole. Let's go in car with them. Former Motorsport South Africa chairman Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in their 5.7-litre Mototech raceco were also pushing hard, chasing the Woolridge Vermaak Nissan. Jackie Joubert and Dani Smit in their Jojo Tanks four-wheel drive Volkswagen with a 2.3-litre Volvo engine were impressive, chasing Schilling and Thorne. Franz Chepek, Sr. and Jr., who already have a Class B win under their belt in the Sun City 400, the leading Class B crew in their Epson V-Motors raceco. Nardus Alberts and Warren Klaassen haven't had any success so far this season and were driving a steady race to get some points on the scoreboard. The veteran pairing of Stanley Illman and Frans Stangl in their high-tech racecoat also took it easy going through the water splash. Starting 7th in Class A, Mark Laurie and Warren Morton's Chenoweth was still sounding good early in the race, but mechanical problems were to sideline them later on. Driving these powerful special off-road vehicles is never easy, and like Nick Harper here, you have to feather the throttle whenever it becomes slippery. Richard Carolyn, or Obut as he is affectionately known, loves driving his single-seater racecoat and was going all out to defend his lead in the championship. Defending production vehicle champion Api Reinecker and Robin Houghton started way down the field, but were making up time in their Bankman Toyota Land Cruiser. Marius Bahrain had a great drive in the Barberspan 500 and was lying 4th in the championship in his mighty mag. You need a strong constitution to go off-roading, and reigning special vehicle champion Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton were pushing their Queen Motorspares raceco as hard as it would go to score their first points of the season. In the motorcycle category, Lance Trathui on his Lesotho office equipment Honda was leading the way after Friday's time trial, followed by his teammate Grant Bloomfield. Pre-race favourite and Open Class Championship leader Alfie Cox on his Pro Action Castrol KTM was also running hard to get to the front. The Yamaha of Richard Manning was beautifully on song, while Brendan Crooks on his 250 Honda was careful not to overdo things. Kevin Fisher was 3rd in the championship on his Montage Print Team Rock Oil KTM and made sure that he wouldn't lose potential championship points. Leading the 250 championship coming into the Sugarbelt, Alex Vals on his Antilex Dairy KTM was chasing hard to catch the flying Trathui. Yuri Human, back from being injured, claimed a 4th place in class at the Barberspan and was pushing his Pro Action Castrol KTM hard to make up for his non-finish at Sun City. Jeffrey Volhurter on his 250 KTM had no time for reflection. But Marco Gavina's KTM did better and took him to the finish. Elmer Simons on his Kawasaki took things close to the edge, while Quinton Milton's Kawasaki was on its way to their best finish of the season. Lying 3rd in the 250 championship, Alan Julian rode a steady race on his Lesotho office equipment Honda. The special vehicle category was starting to show some signs of depletion as the race took its toll. But at this stage, brothers Nick and Ryan Harper were still going steady on their Pro-M Rock Oil Raceco. Unfortunately, they retired later on. Derek Pinoy and Andre Opperman were also steadily falling back because of mechanical maladies and would also count amongst the retirees. The lush sugarcane fields of KwaZulu-Natal were most probably far from the minds of Nardus Alberts and Warren Carson as they negotiated the narrow path through the cane. Not an easy task. Brothers Harriman and Karl-Heinz Silveld were driving hard to retain their lead, as well as to make up for the disappointment of not finishing in the Barberspan 500 a month ago. Franz Čepek Jr. was leading the co-drivers championship and his father was lying 2nd in the drivers race, so a good finish would do their respective championships' hopes no harm at all. In the production vehicle category, Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak were doing well, but mechanical problems would force the time freight Sani out of the race, losing them the championship lead in the process. This is where Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne came past in their Mototech Raceco, taking over the lead on the road. This, however, wouldn't last long. It's extremely difficult to drive these vehicles through the narrow confines of the sugarcane at speed, and the slightest mistake can have serious consequences. On top of this, Schilling and Thorne were suffering from a broken steering bush at this stage, which gave the driver very little play on the steering wheel. Clearly happy with their progress, let's join the Mototech crew.
I hope you can win. Left. Over the bridge. And left. And left again. Okay.
Cliff Barker and Malcolm Joubert had a disastrous time trial and started in 61st position, but were driving exceptionally well in their Fosdix Land Rover and were picking off the competition one by one. Schumi van Vieren, without his regular co-driver and brother Karel, and Fani Kotzer started in 35th position, but would unfortunately not finish. Back to Barker and Joubert, who were still going as fast as they could and were climbing up through the field. Colin Frankenberg and Tony Yeo in their Fosdix Range Rover started way down the field after their bonnet flew open in the time trial, but were now challenging the leading cars in the production vehicle category. The quad category was going according to script, with defending champion Vickers van Deventer on his Jojo Tanks Yamaha leading the way. He didn't have it all his own way, however, with Yuri Duplessis on his Yamaha Banshee chasing hard. These quads are driven in a way somewhat between that of a car and a motorcycle, calling for a very special breed of racer. Mark Breckel on his Brasco refrigeration Yamaha Banshee was lying a little bit further back in the field. David Parkinson on his 200cc Yamaha Blaster had a good 5th position in the Barberspan, but would not score points in the Bell Sugarbelt 400. Some of the quad racers sometimes look like they're only out on a Sunday drive. In the special vehicle category, there was a tremendous battle between the Silwood brothers, the Chepeks, and Marius Bahrain in his mighty mag. Bahrain was in a hurry when he came through the central marshal point. But trouble was hitting some of the other front runners. Nardus Alberts had rear suspension problems, while Illman and Stangl had a puncture, but were on their way quickly with lots of hands to help. Illman and Stangl later rolled down an embankment and had to retire. Amongst the bikes, Alfie Cox on his Pro Action Castrol KTM was living up to his pre-race expectations and was leading overall. But he had no reason for complacency with Lance Trethui on his Lesotho Office Equipment Honda chasing hard. Just look at the speed of those motorcycles. Alex Vowles on his Antelex Dairy KTM was just a few minutes behind Trethui and still determined to catch up. Cox's teammate, Yuri Human, was lying 4th at this stage and enjoying himself like a little boy. Human had a lead of just over a minute over Kevin Fisher on his Montage Print Team Rock Oil KTM. Brendan Crooks on his 250 Honda was slowly starting to show his potential and on his way to his first championship point of the season. Grant Bloomfield on his Lesotho Office Equipment Honda was in 5th position and would see the gap between him and Cox widen by 9 points. Quinton Milton was lying 6th overall on his 200cc Kawasaki at a great showing of talent and ability. Alan Julian on his Lesotho office equipment Honda was about 4 minutes behind Grant Bloomfield, but had to concentrate hard to keep Elmer Simons at bay. Darryl Curtis rode a fantastic race on his Pro Action Castrol KTM, starting 113th and finishing 17th overall. At the front, the Salwood brothers were chasing flat out to catch the leading car. The Mototech raceco of Schilling and Thorne, but soon it wouldn't be necessary.
You okay, bud? You okay? Yeah. Sorry, bud.
Because of the limited turning ability, Schilling had no way of controlling a high-speed slide when the tail stepped out. The roll brought their race to a premature end. Fortunately, no one was injured. The dice for the lead was still tremendously close, with the Chepex trying very hard to catch the Sawwalls. Marius Borain in his mighty mag, who in turn was within striking distance of the Chepex, was giving it his all. The winners of the production vehicle category in the Barberspan, R.P. Wienerker and Robin Houghton in their Bankman Toyota Land Cruiser were about to make it two in a row. They had a comfortable lead over Colin Frankenberg and Tony Yeo. The Toyota Hilux of Shumi van Vuren and Fanny Kotze was still going strong, but would finish out of the points. Marcus Taylor and Mark de Chalan were having their best drive of the season in their Sandmaster and would finish fourth in the special vehicle category. Clive Horner was also very pleased with his performance and was well on his way to a fifth position in his category. Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton were also smiling behind the mud on their race car, finishing in a creditable 8th position, also their first points of the season. But the drive of the day must have been that of Cliff Barker and Malcolm Joubert in their Fostix Land Rover, having started in 61st position and finishing 4th. The Class E Toyota Hilux of brothers Chris and Andrew Birkin did very well to stay within striking distance of much more powerful cars and finished 3rd in the production vehicle category. Colin Frankenberg and Tony Yeo in their Fostix Range Rover underlined their tremendous potential by finishing 2nd, thereby closing their championship gap to the Birkin brothers. Let's go back in car with them. In the motorcycle category, Alfie Cox was still leading on his Pro Action Castrol KTM, but he couldn't relax for a moment with Lance Trethewey breathing down his neck. Trethewey on his Lesotho office equipment Honda was only about 2.5 minutes behind and pushing hard to make up the deficit. Alex Vars on his Antolex Dairy KTM had the same margin behind Trethewey in 3rd place. Yuri Human on the other Pro Action Castrol KTM was trying to make up a deficit of about 3 minutes as well. The Montage Prince teamed Rock Oil KTM of Kevin Fisher was quicker than Human in the first racing section, but lost about a minute in the second. Quinton Milton was having a great race on his Kawasaki, lying 6th, about 10 minutes behind the leaders. In the quad category, Vickers van Deventer on his Jojo Tanks Yamaha was in his customary 1st position, but following a big fall, not by as big a margin as usual, but there was just seemed to be no answer for the Northwest farmer from the rest of the quad racing field. Yuri Duplessis tried in vain to catch van Deventer and had to settle for a distant 2nd place. It was 3 out of 3 this season for Alfie Cox, giving him an even bigger lead in the championship when he crossed over the finish line first in the motorcycle category. Cox's winning margin over Trothui was 2 minutes 42 seconds, while Vowles was a further 4 minutes and 8 seconds adrift. Alfie Cox gave us his thoughts on the event.
I think a hard off-road, very tight, accelerating, braking, a lot of bumps, very rough, not like the smooth Kalahari desert, you know. But it's been a good ride, and I think the tough came out today, I think.
In one of the closest finishes ever, the Silwell brothers crossed the line first, but the result was only known once the third car had finished. In the end, the Silwells beat Bahrain by 2 minutes and 8 seconds, who in turn led the Chepex home by a margin of exactly 1 minute after 400 racing kilometers.
Ja, dat is weer lekker om terug te wees. Ons het goeie wedrenne gehad, maar ongelukkig het het niet altijd uitgewerkt soos ons het sou wou gehad het nie. So dit is lekker, ja, dit is baie naby. Chepex is in minute in. So dit was 'n lekker wedrenne. Ja.
Reiniger and Houghton made it 2 in a row this season to take over the championship lead from Neil Woolridge and Paul van Mark.
Maar goed gegaan. Al die pad van die begin tot die einde nooit gestaan nie. Lekker.
Van Deventer still seems untouchable at the front of the quad field, but Christo Falabarba in the smaller class can still give him a run for his money in the championship race.